Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask all of you to turn to page 344. Now, Friday gave a Maamar class, and we learned a lot. We learned more than half of the Maamar. And the way the Maamar goes is this. The Rebbe asks the standard question, the classic question. The question is, it says in Siddur, right? And I always love to point out that this is not the pasuk in Tanakh. This is a pasuk from Siddur. That Zeh hayom tchilas masecha zikaron liyom rishon. Rosh Hashanah is Zeh hayom. This is the beginning of the tchilas masecha of the Eibishter's work. And then we say zikaron liyom rishon. It reminds us of the first day. So there's different taichin in the words, but bepashtas. Zayim, this day Rosh Hashanah is Tchilas Masecha. Zikaron L'Yom Rishon reminds us of Chav Hei Elul, when the Eibishter actually created the world. And the Rebbe asks the standard questions: how do we understand Chav Hei Elul, and how do we understand Rosh Hashanah, and why do we say that Rosh Hashanah is more important than Chav Hei Elul? And then the other question the Rebbe asks is: if Rosh Hashanah is so much more important than Chav Hei Elul, why do we Bechlal mention Chav Hei? The standard questions. And the Rebbe gives the standard answers. What's the standard answer? Is that there's chitzonius ha'elamis and there's pnimius ha'elamis. There's the outer world and the inner world. Chitzonius ha'elamis is like a Chav Hei Elul. And that's big, it's big stuff. Everything is created on the first day. The Rebbe says on the first day you already have Marabu Masech Hashem or Gadlo Masech Hashem. The Rebbe also says that you have Yom Echad, not Yom Rishon. The Rebbe teaches, what's that Yom Echad? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yochad Be'elami. The first day of creation, the world was in a very elevated state. Now, by the way, at the end of the Maamar, which we haven't learned yet, the Rebbe is going to say that Taka, the first day is Yom Echad, but it's not Yom Yochid. Yom Yochid requires avoid, it requires the Tchilas Masech. So Chav Hei Elul is a very big day, a very, very big day, as it relates to Chitzonius Ha'elmas, to the creation. Nevertheless, comes Friday, Rosh Hashanah, Aleph Tishrei, Vid, as I explained to you on Friday. The Eibishter creates a person, Nasa Adam Atmenu Kid Moseinu, and we say Zeh hayom tchilas masecha. Everything until now is insignificant, is inconsequential compared to what's happening today, even though what's the Eibishter creating? In terms of what you see, Begashmias, he created very little, just created a person. Nevertheless, Zeh hayom, Aleph Tishrei is tchilas masecha, and everything compared to this is totally secondary. Why? Because people do avoid on their own, specifically Yidden. He says Yidden are Adam Elyon, Yidden are Yisrael v'Gutzur B'Chol Achad, Yidden are even higher than Torah, and because of all of these milas, Zeh hayom tchilas masecha is even higher than Chav Hei Elul, when the Rebbe made the whole world. So currently Yom Rishon. And the Rebbe says that you call it Koi and Zeh. Chav Hei Elul is called Koi, obviously, and Rosh Hashanah is called Zeh. You point with your finger, and Zeh is much higher than Koi. And then the Rebbe asked a question. The question is, okay, fine, you convinced me. Chav Hei Elul is only chitzonius. Rosh Hashanah is pnimius. The pnimius is more than the chitzonius. I get it. Okay, maskim. I get it. So you shouldn't even mention Yom Rishon. You should only say Zeh hayom tchilas masecha. You shouldn't say Beklau. You shouldn't go back and mention Zikaron L'Yom Rishon. So the Rebbe says, no, there's a reason. You know why he says Zikaron L'Yom Rishon? Because there's three things actually. There's creation on the level of chitzonius, which is called Koi. There's creation on the level of pnimius, which is called Zeh. And the third thing is to be mamshach Zeh into Koi, that in the external world you should see the Eibishter. So the reason you say Zikaron L'Yom Rishon is because even though Rosh Hashanah is so much higher than Chav Hei Elul because it fulfills the purpose of creation and it reveals the Eibishter, but it reveals it in the world. So he says Zikaron L'Yom Rishon to indicate how the higher inyan of Rosh Hashanah changes the whole world. And then the Rebbe connected this to Tzemach Tzedek's Maamar to the Maamar Nasa Adam. Right? What happened on Friday? Hashem said Nasa Adam b'tzalmenu kid Moseinu. And the Rebbe said like this: why is there by a person tzalmenu kid Moseinu? Because by the Eibishter there's tzalmenu kid Moseinu. And this the Rebbe did very bekitzer and very law, but he does it. He says, what's meant kid Moseinu? So again, we're saying by a person that the Eibush has created, a human being is created in the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he has two levels, Tzalmenu and Kid Moseinu. So the Rebbe says, wait, but before you talk about Tzalmenu Kid Moseinu in a person, you should speak about Tzalmenu Kid Moseinu in the Eibishter. What are the two things? Kidmuseinu is how Hashem creates the world, yesh me'ayin, but you don't see Hashem, you see only yesh. B'tzalmeinu is the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is revealed. And then there is the bringing together of Tzalmeinu together with Kidmuseinu, just like by Koy and Zed, there's three things. So by Tzalmeinu, Kidmuseinu, there is number one, Kidmuseinu, Hashem creates the world. Number two, Tzalmeinu, that the Eibishter is revealed. Number three, how in the world, which the Eibishter creates, Yesh Me'ayin, you see Him. So it's parallel. Just like you have three in Yonim, Koi, Zeh, and the Achtos of Zeh and Koi. So now you have three things. You have how by the Eibush you have Kidmuseinu, that's Eibush creating the world. By the Eibush, Tzalmeinu, the Eibush is revealed. And the unity of Tzalmeinu, Kidmuseinu, how in the world of the Eibush that Eibush made, you see Him. And then the Rebbe said, this is also by a person. By a person there's a Kidmuseinu, by a person there's a Tzalmeinu, and by a person there's an Achtos of Tzalmeinu, Kidmuseinu. So the Maamar, the statement that the Eibush made on the sixth day of creation, Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu Kidmuseinu, conforms to all three things. On Friday, the Eibush created a person, but He created a person on three levels. Kidmuseinu is like Koi, B'Tzalmeinu is like Zeh, and the idea that the person changes the world is like the unity of Tzalmeinu Kidmuseinu. This is what we learned. I just summarized the Maamar. Honestly, it was clearer now than it was on Friday, because I chazed the Maamar between then and now, and I had time to think about it. This was a very clear summary. I hope it didn't take too long, but it was a rather clear summary. What happens now? So what's really going to happen is that the Rebbe is going to add a fourth level, a fer de madrege. The first madrege is called Koi, or it's called Kidmuseinu. The second madrege is called Zeh, or it's called B'Tzalmeinu. The third madrege is Va'amartem Koi la'Choi, the unification of Koi and Zeh, or the unification of B'Tzalmeinu Kidmuseinu. That a Yid, through his avodah, through our avodah, reveal the Eibishter in the world. Reveal the Creator. You should see the Creator in the creation. So the Rebbe moves on to another subject, but he holds on to the word. There's a key here. The word is what? When the Eibishter created the world, they created the world through 10 utterances. What do we call them? Maamores, right? That word is it's going to become very important as we transition from the first half of the Maamar to the second half of the Maamar. When the Eibishter gave us the Torah, He told us 10 things. They're called dibris. But the 10 utterances of creation are called Maamorim, Maamar, right? So the Rebbe uses this word to talk about a different subject, and in so doing provides for a level 4, even higher than Koi and Zeh and the unity of Koi and Zeh, even higher than Dmus and Selam and the unity of Selam and Dmus. There's something even higher. What does the Rebbe shift to? He shifts to Psukim of Pashas Kisaveh. Now, I don't know how much you know these Psukim, but ich koch sich mehr in these Psukim. These Psukim, Pashas Shlishi of Kisaveh is 4 Psukim. It's the most important Pash in the Chumash in many ways. I think I mentioned this to you. Because in those 4 Psukim, basically the Eibishter says, I love you and you love me. It's a love fest. There's a word in those 4 Psukim which appears nobody else in Tanakh. Hashem he'amarta and Hashem he'amircha. So Rashi says, Amarta doesn't mean to speak. It doesn't mean... Amarta means to love. Loshin Shevach. I chazed the Maamar last night in Shul. So I said, it doesn't say any place else. He says, what are you talking about? It says, Anu Mamirecha, V'ata Mamireinu. I said, where do you think that comes from? It comes from this. Rashi says, there's no place else. Then he goes brings Rayas that there is other places. It's Amru Kopei Eliyaven and so forth. But there's a short little parsha. We have the word Aleph Mem Reish, and Rashi ties us in the word Shevach. But the Rebbe doesn't. This is a Maamar from Tzemach Tzedek. The Rebbe doesn't. He says, Hashem Amarta, Hashem Amircha means to speak. But it can't mean only to speak. Why? So in other words, what we're doing is, we started off a Maamar talking about Chof HaYelul and Rosh Hashanah, right? Hashem created the word Chof HaYelul. Rosh Hashanah, Hashem said, Nasa Adam B'Tzmeinu. Remember the word Maamar. Maamar, Nasa Adam B'Tzmeinu. Now go to the other side. Hashem Amarta, Hashem Amircha. What does it mean? It means Hashem spoke. What did Hashem say? He said, Nasa Adam. You understand? The Rebbe Davke, and this is based on the Tzemach Tzedek's Maamar for sure. I didn't look the Tzemach Tzedek up, but there's no question this is the Tzemach Tzedek's Maamar, that he uses the word Amar as a carryover. That Chof HaYelul was a Maamar, Breshis Bara Elokim. But on Friday, Rosh Hashanah, there was a Maimon Nasa Adam B'Tzmai Nikid Museinu. That Maimon Nasa Adam Nikid Museinu, that's Hashem He'amarcha. And Hashem He'amird, Hashem He'amarta, and Hashem He'amircha. But the Rebbe is going to say that can't be enough. You know why? Because it wasn't the first Maimon. The first Maimon was Bereishis. Hashem He'amarta hayom. Hayom is Rosh Hashanah. Today, the Eibush did Omar. What was the Omar? Nasa Adam Nikid Museinu. But what about yesterday? He said that... And the day before and the day before and the day before whatever that happened then and the day before is erev, those Maimonim don't count. And therefore we're going to say that on Sunday there was Maimir from the word Amira. On Friday there's Maimir from the word Amira, but also from the word Shevach. So Shevach, the word He'amarta and He'amircha, Rashi says Loshen Shvach. So this is what the Rebbe does. The Tzemach Tzedek has a Maimed. It's a classic Rosh Hashanah Maimed. It is. What's unusual about this version is that he brings the Maimed Nasa Adam. Right? Hashem said on Friday, let there be man, B'Tzalmeinu Kid Museinu. And he made for B'Tzalmeinu Kid Museinu three things. The Mus, Tzelem, and the unification of Tzelem and Mus. So Rebbe says, now, once we establish that Rosh Hashanah is special, Friday is special, because of the Maimer Nasa Adam, let's move on to more Maimers. You follow what I'm saying or not? It's not deep. It's just halt and cup. It's from point A to point B to point C. And by the way, I want you to know that the Rabbeim called their Teiras Maimorim, right? The Sichas are called Dibris. Maimorim are called Maimer. And I'm sure there's many reasons why. And here you see why a Maimer is called a Maimer. It means creation, it means Shevach, it means Lavush. But there's another thing. In Halacha, the word Maimer means a kinyan. When a Yavam marries a Yavama, he gives her Maimer. Maimer is Kedushin D'Rabbanan. Connection. Maimer. So in this Maimer, the philosophy of three revolves around the word Maimer. In the first half of the Maimer, it means Maimer Nasa Adam. Now we're going to shift to He'amarta and He'amircha, and we're going to exploit this. And the most important thing that I want you to take out of today's class is that the Rebbe is going to add a fourth level. If the first level is Koya, the second level is Zed, the third level is the unification of Koya and Zed, right? If the first level is the Mus, the second level is Tzelem, the third level is... That third level is Hashem He'amarta. That means that we favor the Eibishter. The fourth level is going to be that above our favoring him, there's Hashem He'amircha. He's going to favor us. Okay, so Halt Cup. The Rebbe is going to parallel what we learned to something new and add something additional. Number 25, bottom of page 344. L'zehu shevach zeh gamkin. Mashe kosov es Hashem he'amarta hayom. That in Parashas Kisaveh, it says the word hayom, and Hashem he'amircha hayom. And the Rebbe says, it says in L'kutei Torah, the ksuvim elu koyal Rosh Hashanah. Anytime you have the word hayom, hayom goes on Rosh Hashanah. L'chein eimim hayom stam. Ve'eini befarish ezayim, because hayom means Rosh Hashanah. So in Parshas Kisaveh, you have again and again the word hayom. Hayom, Hashem Elokecha Mitzavcha. Hayom hazeh, Hashem Elokecha Mitzavcha. Hayom, whenever you say hayom and you don't say what day it is, it means Rosh Hashanah. By the way, we learned a Maamar last week, Mamish last week, where the Rebbe teaches us the teach hayom the day you go into Eretz Yisrael. It's a different Maamar in L'kutei Torah. But in this Maamar and in many, many Maamarim, whenever you have in the Chumash the word hayom, and you don't say which day is hayom, it's Rosh Hashanah. And you know the source of it is, amongst other things, the Sefer Erev. That in the book of Erev it says that there was a judgment. Vahi hayom. There was a certain hayom, and all the malachim came, and the Satan also came. And the Eibishter asks him what's going on, and the Eibishter asks him, what do you think of Erev? And Satan says he's gewaldig. And the Eibishter says, yeah, but he has it easy, a whole story, yeah? So on the word Vahi hayom, steht in Targum Yonason, the day of great judgment. He hayom in the Sefer Erev is Rosh Hashanah. And they sometimes, there's different sources. But one of the rayas that they bring, that hayom stam is Rosh Hashanah, is that pasuk in Erev with the Targum. But hayom means Rosh Hashanah. And what do I say about hayom? Hayom he'amarta hayom. Continues the Rebbe. Now, v'in yin zeh, 4 lines into the paragraph. Yom Rosh Hashanah, k'meshe kosov, v'sad Hashem he'amarta, v'Hashem he'amircha. On Rosh Hashanah, the special praise that we give Hashem, and the special praise that Hashem gives us is manifest. Umavur badrucha bedrushi kvei kedush at Mona Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek brings. It's the same Maamar that the Rebbe brought in last year, Friday's year. Mepir Rashi. What Rashi says that Marta v'Mircha is lashon shevach. It doesn't mean to speak; it means to praise. Everybody knows that Amar means to speak. Now wait, remember, if we would say Marta means to speak, how would you type Hashem Marta hayom? It's Rosh Hashanah. Hashem Mircha hayom. What's the Amira? Nasa Adam b'tzameinu kidmuseinu. The Maamar that creates people. That's how you would type it. But the Tzemach Tzedek says, no, it doesn't mean the Maamar Nasa Adam. It means Lashon Shevach. Says the Rebbe, 5 lines from the bottom, the Pir is Zeu Muchrach. You have to say that Marta can't mean Lashon Amira. Even though you would know what the Amira would be, it would be the Amira of Nasa Adam. It can't mean it, Favos. The Im Nefarish B'Pashas Marta Lashon Amira. If you're going to say that Marta means to speak, the koyal hasora ma'amoris, in which case it would be referencing the hasora ma'amoris. Hari hasora ma'amoris hayu eid lifnei hayom hazeh. The first of the ma'amoris is not Rosh Hashanah. The first of the ma'amoris is Chavhei B'Yalo. So it says in the pasuk Marta and Mircha, and we have a choice. We can translate it Lashon Amira, that Hashem spoke us into existence, and you could translate Lashon Levush, which you'll see later in the Maamar. You could translate Lashon Shvach. Tzemach Tzedek says you have to translate Lashon Shvach because if Amira means creation, you should go back to Bereshis. Umishum the last line on the page. You have no choice but to say that Hamat is Lashon Shevach. Hamat means Lashon praise. And the Rebbe says, "V'inyan Shevach." On page 345 is with the Hukanao. What happens on Rosh Hashanah, which is called hayom. Hayom hazeh Marta, that every Yid is praising Hashem on hayom, is this: that she'afal bi ishgam lefnei hayom hazeh Rosh Hashanah, before Rosh Hashanah. Kvar yeshna briyad already is a creation. Chavhei b'yel marabu magodlu alamaylis. Mekom mokem, nevertheless, Yisraelai the avedasa when Yidden do avodah poil in bebriyazu, they add to this creation inyan shevach, the concept of shevach. So the Rebbe is saying that the title of the pasuk Hashem Marta is Azoy. We know that there is a koi, we know there is a zeh, and we know there's a unifying of the zeh with the koi. That's Hashem Marta. The third thing. We looked at the previous mind. Questions or comments? It's very important that you understand that I'm stopping here because we're going to be moving on now to point 4. The Rebbe is going to add a new point, which in the first half of the Maamar we didn't have. So I'm reading. Okay, if you're good, I'm good. V'hinei. And after he says that Yidden are saying an Amida V'adei, and we're not translating Amida from the word to speak. We're not translating Amida Lashon garments. We're translating Amida Lashon Shevach. We love Hashem and Hashem loves us back. That's the Seder. First Hashem Marta, a Yid praises HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and afterwards is Hashem Mircha, Hashem praises us back. That's Hashvah Marta Hu. The idea that Yid praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'ashayadei Yavei Das HaAdam. When a Yid does avodah, nimshach bechina zeh hayem bebechinas kid museinu beifin golet. That you don't have kid museinu separate, and salmeinu separate, or koi separate, or zeh and zeb separate. But the zeh is nimshach into the koi, the salmeinu is nimshach into the kid museinu. Achamar ebedz boy ve'emer zeh points at the world, and he sees HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By days a magia l'mayla mayla, you reach the highest of levels, and the Rebbe uses very strong asias. Ad la bechina shalamayla megeder maylo mata. When Rosh Hashanah comes, and Yidden make the Eibishter into a melech, they unify the world with Hashem to such an extent that you can't even say high and low. It's all Eibishter. But that's only level 3. Hashem Marta, we praise the Eibishter by not bringing the Eibishter into the world, by revealing the Eibishter into the world. Zog the Rebbe Amal Amayla means that there's a 4th level. And what's the 4th level? The Eibishter has a habit of resting in a place which is perfect. And the Zehu, we know the Shem Mircha, Hashem praises us back, which is Zen Nimshach La'achra Vedes Ha'odam of Es Hashem Marta. First, he does his avodah, and he's Mishabeyach the Eibishter, which creates the unity between Zen and Koi, between Tzamenik and Museinu, between godliness and world. That in the world you see the Eibishter. Ad L'mayla Meged and Milo Mata. Then the Eibishter comes and puts an icing on that cake. This becomes the 4th level. You follow? So now, in the first half of this Maamar, we only had 3 levels, because the first half of this Maamar went on the Pasuk Zayim Chilas Mazechas Dekoron Yemrishn, And the Tzemach Tzedek touch what ze hayom, the Maamar nasa adam. What does it say nasa adam? Tzalmeinu, Kidmusenu, and then the unity of Tzalmeinu, Kidmusenu. But now the Tzemach Tzedek comes to a different Aleph Mem Reish in Pashas Kisaveh. By adding this additional Aleph Mem Reish in Pashas Kisaveh, the Tzemach Tzedek is the fourth level. What's the fourth level? Okay, this is a short introduction. This is Tanya Pedek Lamed. This is a classic idea in Chassidus. The classic idea in Chassidus is that people can only go so far. B'chlal, I mean, the truth of the matter is, it's common sense. Any avodah we ever do is sanctioned by the Eibishter. What are we capable of? Whatever we do is the Eibishter gets koiches, right? A Yid learns. And the Lakus is nimshach mamata lamayla. Then the Lakus is nimshach afterwards mamayla lamata. It's alt Eibishter. The Eibishter gives us all of our gifts. Right? But beyond that, there's another thing. There is this concept called Isarusa de Latata, Isarusa de Le'ela. You work and you get rewarded. How much is the reward? Based on the work. More than you earn, you can't get. Correct? Right? More than you earn, you cannot get. Everybody understands that. No? So if the reward is L'fiyerecha Avodah, the Eibishter gives us work. We do work and the Eibishter rewards us. The reward is also limited. But then there's a concept called Isarusa de Le'ela. Shalamayla, Isarusa de Latato, Isarusa de. You work and you got schar and you come to what's called a shleimus. In Aramaic, it's called asar shlim, a place of shalom. You can't go any further. This is it. You can't. You maxed out, as they say in the language of credit cards. Then the Eibishter raises you up. When you reach a shleimus, that you push it, like Avraham Avinu reached shleimus minha nivroim, shleimus minha anushi. Avraham came to the highest point that a person could possibly come by himself, and then the Eibishter gave him bris milah. He took him out of that limitation. That's Hashem Mircho. If step one means a world where you don't see God, and step two means where you see God but you don't see the world, and step three is that you unify the God that you see with the world, that you see the Eibishter in the world. Step four is that when a Yid does this, b'shleimus, the Eibishter gives him more. And that's after the Hashem Marto comes the Hashem Mircho. She says, the Maamar develops, you start to see more and more how important the Maamar Nasa Adam is. Emphasis on the word Maamar. Maamar means Shevach, but Maamar means the utterances of creation. The Maamar, the Eibishter said, Nasa Adam, he brought into the world the possibility for three levels. And when the person achieves all these three levels, there's another Maamar, which the Eibishter adds, which is the fourth level, which a human being cannot come to by himself. And this is called Kochabrichu Sharia Ba'asar Shlim. We achieve our best, and the Eibishter graduates it with something even higher. Go ahead.
Just when you get the levels, the first level you see the world, second level you see the Eibishter, the third level you see them both together.
The Eibishter in the world. The world reveals the Eibishter.
And the fourth level?
How the Eibishter takes the world that we revealed him in and raises it up even higher. So you want to know what it means? I'm going to give several examples. See, I've spent a lot of time on the first few lines because the 2 pages read easy. The key is this, what we read so far. Okay? So if you're ready, I'm going to move on. I'm on page 345, 6 lines into the paragraph. To explain this in Avodas Hashem Hine. Life is divided up into 3 things. So the Rebbe says, I'm going to give you one example from Torah, I'm going to give you one example from Avodah, and I'm going to give you one example from mitzvahs, for the idea that a Yid reaches a certain shleimus, and the Eibishter gives them a higher shleimus still. That's what's going to happen now. You get it? He's going to give 3 examples of what it means after our shleimus, the Eibishter gives us something even higher. What does it mean? A person reaches a shleimus in limud Torah, and then the Eibishter adds to him an even higher level. Is this? There is a person learning Torah to the highest madreges, which is called in the Chazal you're filled with awe and trepidation. You're overwhelmed by the sense of Hashem's presence, and it's overwhelming to you. Yes, that's the highest level a person could reach. The Rebbe says in Tanya, right, that in last is called that when a Yid learns Torah, he's holding by Yidei law. The highest madrega is standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Continues the Rebbe and he says, there's a level higher than the completest battles of the Yid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which we're going to call, for the lack of words, Yidei law. What is that? Hashem praises the shleimus of the Yid's limud Torah, which is Lima the Tere Be'efen de Midber V'itmer. Midaber and Itamar means that the Eibishter is speaking and repeating after him. There's two different expressions in Hasidus about this, right? One level is that we learn and Hashem repeats after us. The higher level is that we're so bottled to Hashem that when we're learning Torah, the Eibishter is speaking and we're repeating after him. So there's the Pasuk, Tan l'sheni imrasecha, which is brought by Torah Shebeksav, and then you have Midaber and Itamar by Torah Shebal Peh. Like it says from the Beis Yosef, Ani HaMishnah medaberes beficha, as if the Mishnah is speaking through his mouth. Shakol mityusu rak mashani HaMishnah, that when a Yid is speaking Divrei Torah, the Torah speaks through him. Not he's bottled to the Torah. The Torah has taken over his space. The Torah speaks through him. That's Hamircha. The highest Madrega of a Yid is he's learning Torah with total is battles. That's the highest level a person can reach on his own. That's the Marta. The Mircha is that the person becomes, the Eibishter puts the Torah to a Yid in such a way that not he's bottled to the Torah, but that the Torah has taken him over. The Torah speaks through him. This is Amachaya. We'll wait for the Fabrengen to pass. A reminder, so later on in the Maamar, the Rebbe is going to say, why does it have to Mishnah? There's so many parts of Torah. Why up is Mishnah? And the Rebbe is going to bring out a special Mailin Mishnah. The Rebbe is going to bring out a special Mailin Mishnah on page 348. I'm not going to make you look, because Mishnah means halacha. And therefore, all of Torah Shebal is called Mishnah, even though there's so many different parts to Torah. Okay. Now, Rabbi, if you're good, I'm moving on to the next. What we just had, the Rebbe said, is level 3 is Marto. A Yid reveals the Eibush in the world through his Limud HaTorah. Level 4 is Mircha, even higher union in Torah, which the Eibush gives him a tongue. Number 2, davening, tefillah. B'chein u'b'kava avoid, the same is true in davening. The tefillah is b'kabanos tiktan, davening in the place of karbanos. In a yeshne, the highest level of tefillah attainable by a person on his own is called oifen atfillah kamei shehu ka'avde kamei more. Marta. You're so bottled to Hashem, you're like a slave in front of a master. Finished. You're totally subservient to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You stand in front of Hashem like a slave stands in front of a master, trembling, full of trepidation. Yeah? What could be higher than that? It says the Rebbe, above the Marta, above the Shevach we give HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the Shevach that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives our tefillah, and this is to call mitzvus yurak, but Hashem sefasai tiftach, v'aydezo piyaget ilasecha, that I can't even speak. And I tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Adnai sefasai tiftach, you should open up my lips so I can speak your praises, because I can't talk. So the Rebbe says the madrega of Adnai sefasai tiftach, v'yaget ilasecha, is beyond human accomplishment. The highest madrega a person could reach by his own is to be like a slave in front of a master. Avda kamimura. Hashem sefasai tiftach is a gift. And that's level 4. Higher than the Marta, this is the Mircha. Says the Rebbe Shebe'efem Gazei, Nigam Psichas As Fasai Me'adei Adnai. Even the opening of the lips is not mine, it's the Eibishter's. So you see, the Rebbe Tzchanetzig gegeben. Yeah, you were afraid how the Rebbe is going to make this work, and he showed you what it means. Number 1, Shleimus Min Ha'adam, and number 2, higher than Shleimus Min Ha'adam. Now when it gets to mitzvahs, it gets a little bit trickier. This takes a longer time. It's a bigger arichas. And the Rebbe Pashat explains it better, okay? If you're ready, I'm moving on, yes? Which were mitzvahs, that there is the shleimus that a person could reach on his own, and then with the Eibush to add even a higher shleimus. Now, Rabbi say, I am going to tell you what the Rebbe is going to say, because it's just easier to learn it this way, okay? I have shiurim on it from years ago, but if you'll study it, you'll know that there's many taimei mitzvahs. There's a lot of reasons for mitzvahs. For example, the Chokrim, the non-Mekubalim, have 2 reasons for mitzvahs. Number 1, midas tevis, and number 2, deis nachenes, to have good ideas in their head. Yeah, but the Mekubalim have many more. One of them is called yichudim, to unify godliness and worldliness. Another is called birudim. Another is called tshuva. Another is called desyenis. Another is called dida b'tachtenim. These are different dimensions of mitzvahs. Okay. The classic Kabbalistic dimension of mitzvah is called yichudim. It's even lower than birudim. In Kabbalah, the classic dimension of fulfilling mitzvahs reasons for doing mitzvahs is that when you do a mitzvah, you unify godliness and worldliness. And bepashtus yichudim happens in Atzilus. It doesn't even happen here. However, then it's brought in Chassidus that it's munach b'kufsa. The Rebbe says it in the first Maamar. It's sitting in a box in Atzilus waiting to come here because the purpose was really here, but it happens in Atzilus. It's called yichudim. How was it explained? Pashat begashmius. A person exercises his muscles. What happens? He has more muscle. What happens to a person who has more muscle? He automatically has more life. You don't have to dial a number and say, excuse me, I got bigger, I need more chayas. The chayas comes memela. So it's explained in Ruchnius the same way. When you expand a keli, you make a keli bigger. And in Kabbalah, expanding a keli means not to make it bigger, but to add more details. More little boxes, kleiner and kleiner spaces. Automatically there's more chayas. So Yechudim is explained as follows. When a Yid does mitzvahs, he's creating more kelim. He's expanding the kelim. The minute you expand the kelim, it's automatically more oyer. This is called Va'asisem, as called mitzvahs Hashem. Hashem means Atzilus. Va'asisem is called mitzvahs Hashem. A Yid creates the mitzvahs in Atzilus. How? He creates kelim, and every time a Yid does a mitzvah, it's like exercising a particular muscle. The kelim becomes more, and there's more oyer. But there's a higher level than mitzvahs Hashem. Go a few lines later, right? He says, "Urisem oisoi uschatam is called mitzvah Hashem. Laman tiskiru vasisem is called mitzvah Yisai. Minor mitzvahs. According to Kabbalah, mitzvah Yisai is kesed, higher than Atzilus. And when it comes to mitzvahs, on that madrega it says v'yisem kadeshim lalekech. What is the last page of the minor lashon? Remember? Asidim seyisrael sheyikru lefonav kodesh. Yid not going to call it Kodesh. That's this. V'yisem kadeshim lalekech. We're not making mitzvahs in Atzilus. Because making mitzvahs in Atzilus means we're only making the keli, the Eibush is mamshach da'oy. We're mamshach mitzvahs higher than Atzilus. Mitzvah is high. And the way you explain it to Chassidus is, Asisem mitzvah Hashem means the Eibush gave us the mitzvahs and we're doing them. Asisem is called mitzvah high. It's as if we're creating our own mitzvahs. There's only 613. We're not making new ones. When a Yid is doing a mitzvah in this madrega, each time he does it, it's called Eisem Etzeinu Shamakim. He's creating a new mitzvah. So the Rebbe is going to say, the lower level, but Sisem is called mitzvah Hashem. This is He'emarto. We do this by ourselves. The higher level, higher than a Sisem, is called mitzvah Yisai, and mitzvah Hashem. This is a gift. This is the only way a Yid can reach the madrega. A Sidim Yisaj, you call them Kaddish, you call them Hashem, by Hashem's name, B'Shmei Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is He'emircha. It's a matana from the Eibush. Now there's only one problem with what I just said. That the Rebbe doesn't use the word mitzvah Yisai in the Maamar. Everything else is written. I added the word mitzvah Yisai for hezbid, and I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. I wanted to make it clear. So the He'emarta is the Yid's mitzvahs by himself. This is the mitzvahs in Atzilus. The He'emircha is higher than Atzilus, which I'm permitting myself to call mitzvah Yisai, as they state in Chassidus, in a lot of places. Okay, so now, there's enough copies, right? Where are the rest of the copies? Do you mind, Mrs.? We're on the bottom of page 345. You ready? I'm reading. You ready? Here we go. It's about 10 lines from the bottom. Gam b'maisa mitzvahs the kav de gamach. When it comes to mitzvahs. When it comes to mitzvahs, mala ani aleim kilu asuni. When a Yid does mitzvahs, it's considered as if a Yid creates Hashem. Now that's silly. What do you mean Yid creates Hashem? So the answer is he's creating atzilos. He's creating kelim for oil. That's such what Vasisem oisam is missing a vav. So you know Vasisem oisam you should do them. Vasisem atam means you create them. The Yid creates the keli for the mitzvahs. Shaydei Yisrael Makayim mitzvahs need to do mitzvahs. Pay them lamailo. They create lamailo. Lamailo means atzilos. Es kol atzir came into the machavidim. The Shmem Chas mitzvah say in atzilos. I'm skipping the parenthesis. K'bevuar baruch. Shaydei kiyam mitzvahs. When he does mitzvahs, nasos chartem. It's called mitzvahs Hashem. We create mitzvahs Hashem. Mitzvahs Hashem means in atzilos, and we remember mitzvahs Hashem. In other words, shepeil ba'maisa shiyeh b'bchina zocher. You see. When you do a mitzvah, you're creating a keli. The keli is the nekeva. But when you do a mitzvah, automatically the Eibush is going to be mamshech the oyer. The oyer is the zocher. Is kol mitzvah Hashem, the emphasis first there's the asiya, and then there's the schira. You create the keli, the nekeva, and then the Eibush is mamshech the zocher. It's written as if the zocher is before the nekeva. But the way it happens in time, first you make the keli, and then the zocher is nimshech. Shapel ba'amai tashiyah bebchina zochar, that into the klishikam zochar, like it's explained ba'arichas and chasidus, and the Rebbe says in the parenthesis, v'zeh when yehamar tasha b'ma'isa mitzvahs. When a yid does mitzvahs, on the level of atzil, the shemichot shchinte, he makes the keli, and then there's chat of the Eibish's mamshech the oil, it's only in atzilus. Continues the Rebbe and he says, Omnom, however, la'achar kol zeh, after the highest madrega that he is able to reach, which is the third level, right? The third level is called he'amarto. The third level is to be revealing godliness and worldliness. So the avodah vayid in imshach l'mayla b'yesef, which is he'mircha. He brings the pasuk mihig dimani v'ashalom. It's a very funny pasuk, because mihig dimani v'ashalom means who comes before me. The Eibush is saying, who comes before me and I'll pay him back. But the way we read it, mihig, who comes before a yid? Hashem comes first, before the yid, and v'ashalom, then the yid comes after Hashem. Mihig dimani. Who's going to come before the avoid of a yid, v'ashalem, and then I'm going to complete it after the avoid of the yid. In other words, higdimani means before avoida, and ashalem means after it. Shakdo, before we do anything, Hashem gives us koyach. Then we do our avoida, which is called he'amarta. And when we reach our shleimus, turn to page 346. A yid does mitzvahs, and he's doing mitzvahs happens in the world of Atzilus. He creates kelim, and then the Eibush is mamshech oyer. That's only Atzilus. Now you have even higher. Shazehu tachlas ha'ilui shabinyan ha'mitzvahs isn't even higher in your mitzvahs. That there's a higher level than doing mitzvahs at Atzilus, and this is doing mitzvahs in Kesef. And here's how he uses words. V'hainu. The first level is our mitzvahs, which create the kelim and atzilus, are ki'ilu, as if we created it. But then comes, if you look at the last two lines of the paragraph, asa'uni mamish. It's not as if we created it, because we created the keli and the age with mamish. But mamish asa'uni, we literally created it, that the yid is doing the avodah all by himself. And I told you what the pshat is. That when a yid does a mitzvah, a madrega of yechida, which is called b'chol ma'idach, it's also called oisem etzedesh hamakom. Oisem etzedesh hamakom means each time I do a mitzvah, I'm creating a new ratzon in Hashem. It's the same tefillin, but I'm not doing it because the Eibush told me to put on tefillin. When I'm doing the mitzvah, I'm creating another ratzon. This is kesed. This is mitzvah sai, which is higher than mitzvah Hashem. Now the only word missing in the Maamar is the word mitzvah sai. I spoke it in. I'm almost sure that this is what the Rebbe means. Okay? What you have to take from this is the Rebbe is giving us details, right? He says level 3 is he'amarto, what a yid can achieve by himself. And level 4 is he'amircha, what a yid cannot achieve by himself. The Eibush gives him. And he gave us an example in Torah. Midab and Itama. He gave us an example in Tefillah. And he gave us an example in mitzvahs that it's not ki'ilu asuni, it's asuni. We're mamish creating the Eibush. So you see, what you're seeing in the Maamar is symmetry. The Rebbe is very orderly. He gives us all the details. He doesn't let us guess. You understand? Questions or comments? So you see, I told you, all of the effort of this class was put into the first 15 minutes. Because now it reads. I started the class, parking and the word Amida. Now it just flows, because I had to introduce the transition from Friday's class to today's class. And then it reads. Because the Rebbe has a lot of detail. The Maamar is long. It's like I told you, Friday's not such a hard Maamar. Maybe it is a hard Maamar. But it's always getached. Okay, so if you're comfortable, I'm going to move on. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask.
I don't want to stop and discuss it now, but I would love to have more elaboration. What does it mean that the mitzvah, the higher form of what we create, and it's not anything like Karim Pesach or mitzvah that they brought out in the mitzvah. Some avodah level.
Let me speak to you in hippieism, in hippie, okay, hippie language. What was the whole time of the hippies? Don't control me. Don't control me. I want to do whatever I want. Are the hippies right or wrong? Practically, it's idiotic. It's childish. If I'm not going to control you, you're going to become an animal. The hippies left us a legacy. You know, when the president runs for office, they asked him if he inhaled marijuana. This was, what was his name? Clinton. Clinton ran 30 years ago. Now they don't even talk about marijuana. the America became a Hefgewelt, a Plishtim, a freie Land, on God. Yeah? Why? Don't tell me what to do. But they are right, the hippies. You shouldn't have to tell a person do it by himself. But how much mensch do you have to be to do? Don't tell me what to do, and you should do the right thing every time. You have to have so much hachona, so much hachshara. But they're right in Indian. Of course, a person soif kol soif should do whatever he wants, but he should do whatever he wants that makes him more mensch, not more animal. So therefore, he starts off his life by being told, do this, stand, sit, walk, row. But a person is supposed to develop over the course of his life until he reaches a madrege where he can actually be a partner, right? And until you can reach a madrege where you say, don't tell me what to do. So there's really 3 steps. In the first step, you do whatever you're told. In the middle step, you're doing whatever you're told, but you're not simply doing what you're told. By doing what you're told, you're a partner in the Eibishter's Rotz. That's mitzvahs Hashem. We're actually making kelim to Imam Shchalakus. We're not just learning midas tevis, they're becoming learning how to be a mensch. We're enough of a mensch that we can do mitzvahs on a madrege, we're expanding alakus. And then you become free. I can do whatever I want. And what do I want? I want what the Eibishter wants. Why? Because I'm the Eibishter. I'm a shtickle Eibishter. That's this third madrege. That's in Atzilus. This is even higher than Atzilus. Da mala maila mimach is in Atzilus. This is, you're creating the Eibishter. Not ki'ilu asu'uni b'li chaf adimyan. And it says in Chassidus, in the Gemara there's an expression, oisem b'tzeini shel mokum. You want to what's a pashta taich? I did what the Eibishter said. I did what the Eibishter said. But if you look at all those gemaras, you'll see that it doesn't make any sense. Ein eizem tzenish shemaka means I'm doing avedis. I'm a frum yid. So Chassidus teaches ein eizem tzenish shemaka means I'm doing all the mitzvahs that Hashem gave me, but He gave them to me. Eizem tzenish shemaka means I'm creating His will. I'm not doing His will. I'm creating His will. So in that tzilos, it's ki'ilu asauni, because I'm only creating the keli and the oil He brings. Higher than Atzilos, it's asauni mamish. And then a yid is called Kaddish, or yid is called Havayah. It's the last page of the Minor Lashon. Think about it. Asidim Yisrael sheyikum b'shem Kaddish Baruch Hu, because we're going to be higher than Atzilos. It was only Atzilos, yeah. Da mala maila, maila is Atzilos. Rimach. Because over there, there's a keli and an oir. I make the kli, and the Eibush is mamshach the oir.
I'm thinking of the other page.
Bibcha totally right.
That you are creating.
The lamayla.
Hashem is copying you.
That's correct. It's true.
So you're following that one or this
No,
one?
no. Da lamayla is only the middle level. You create a kli, and then the Eibush puts an oir to match it. Uzechartem is called mitzvah savaya. You should. Higher than Atzilus, there's only lamata. There's no lamayla. There's no lamayla, there's only lamata. There's only a yid. A yid is creating the Eibishter. Not ki'ilu asuni mamish. I guess the appropriate word is, it's edel. But I always think about it. Klipa's whole time is I want to be frei. They're not wrong. They're stupid. Why? Because I want to be frei means I want to be an animal. Instead of I want to be the best person. To be the best person, the person who wants to do well in anything, works hard. You want to win an award for lifting weights, you sit hours and hours in a gym and you work hard. You're going to say, don't tell me what to do? You understand, you want to achieve, you have to work. The idea, don't tell me what to do, I know myself what to do. You know, the Rebbe used to say, Samsa Poshtik, I'm a shoemaker, I made the film myself. It's emes. But it's higher than Atzilus. Not it's higher than Atzilus, it's higher than Atzilus. And if you don't have the achonah, and you say, I want to do it my way, so for 15 minutes you're a great tzaddik, and then you fall. All these people have this, this hippie kind of Yiddishkeit. They're very spiritual. If you don't have Teda mitzvahs, you don't have Kabbalah sale, you fall. You can't stay there. It's impossible.
You see even in very shit, Reader's Digest, have to, but you
see that they're saying the only way to have a good life is by following what the Bible says.
Right.
That's the first. If you start making your own.
That's a big. That's a change. It's not. It's anti-American. America is all about ich verstehe allein, und ich kann allein tun, and I don't need any help, and I don't need any mashpiyim. No, but I'm smart enough. Ich kann alles beweisen. And it's so empty. My students ask me from time to time about this thing. The dirtiest word, the organized religion. I said, what's the opposite of organized religion? Personal religion. You ready to be Avraham Avinu? Simple question. If you're ready to be Avraham Avinu, go ahead. But you're not ready to be Avraham Avinu. You want to be Avraham Avinu for 15 minutes. And then you want to be a frayayat. Avraham Avinu had practiced personal religion. Yeah. Avraham Avinu. Echad Avraham. There was one like that. Now, let's read the second section of the Maamar. Second paragraph. V'hinei. I used to teach in Beis Rivka, in the high school. So the way the classroom worked was the first girls who ran in took the last seats in the room. If you came in late, you had no choice but to sit in the front. What can I tell you? They're stuck under the plats. Okay, so you're going to stand. Okay, you can give her a copy. V'hinei. So now, 346. Rabbi say, the next three paragraphs are not hard. In other words, the echos, the eon that we needed to do in this Maamar, we really did. What the Rebbe is now going to do is going to say that even though we started off by saying that He'amarta cannot mean to speak, it has to mean Shevach, it actually means all three things, okay? So I'm going to read. You were just offered a seat. It's not in the back row, but it's close to the back. V'hinei. You ready? Al pi ana yuvon. Masho be'inyan Hashem He'amarta v'geim Hashem micha beivik v'gedush v'rat tzamach tzadik gimel pirush. Tzamach tzadik brings three interpretations. Loshen Shevach, which is the one we were going with until now, praise. Loshen Levush, which means garment, and Loshen Amida, and speech, which until now we negated, right? Until now we said no. It can't mean speech, because speech doesn't start Rosh Hashanah. Speech starts Chaf Hayom. So the Rebbe now asks the kasha. Haseder bazehu, the way that Tzemach Tzedek brings these three interpretations is apira shadishin is lashon shavach. The first is praise, the second is garment, and the third is speech. And the Rebbe said it should be the other way around. First, he should say pira shapashad lashon amida v'dibra, to speak. Then he should say lashon lavush, which means a garment, which is more precious than words. And the last thing should be shevach. And that's what the Tzemach Tzedek does. The lowest level is praise, the second level is garment, and the third level is words. So I'm starting 6 lines into the paragraph. You ready? Page 346, second paragraph, 6 lines. Ava lapi hanal move on. The answer is what we said before. The layeh is the cause of Koyal Rosh Hashanah. We're starting in the middle of the story. What is the beginning of the story? Chaf Heyelo. If He'amarta was Chaf Heyelo, so He'amarta would mean to speak. Since He'amarta is Rosh Hashanah, it has to mean, first of all, Loshen Shevach. You can come, don't be afraid, we don't bite. Can't come in. Okay, they're going into the house, yeah. Lochein magdim inyan hashevach. That's why the first thing he brings is praise. Kizehu when Yonesh or Rosh Hashanah. The first thing about Rosh Hashanah is not a world. Rosh Hashanah is the world where Hashem is revealed. He'amarta shevach. And the Rebbe says we discuss this at great length. That Rosh Hashanah is not talking about creation, right? As far as creation is concerned, nothing happens in Rosh Hashanah except that He creates human beings. But in terms of the purpose of creation, everything happens in Rosh Hashanah. So you start off with Shevach. No, so listen carefully now. If you can't start off with speech, and you can't start off with clothing, and you have to start off with praise, because Rosh Hashanah is such a high day, if you then say, after you say Shevach, you say Beged, Levush, and after you say Levush, you say words, you have to say that Levush and that Amira is higher than Shevach. You understand? If the Seder was first words, then clothes, then praise, words is the lowest level, clothing is the second level, and praise is the third level. If you start with praise, it's then you're not going down, you're going up. How the praise comes down also into garments. How the praise come down also into words. But it's not going lower, it's only going higher. Rosh Hashanah, you start with Shevach, and you go up. To where? To Levush and to Amira. And the Rebbe explains it like this. Hainu. We are on 6 lines from the bottom of the page. At the outset, you have a world. That's number 1. And you have the Eibishter, the Matthias Eibishter. And then you have a third thing. Yisrael, al yadei avei dasam, Yidden, through their work, ma'achtim zel davarecha, they take tachtoinim, they take loy, and they make a shidduch, they make a dira. That's shevach. That's the first taich. A Yid is born Rosh Hashanah, and he makes this world Hashem's home. He makes Hashem a king, he makes this world the Eibishter's home. He brings together entity 1, koi, entity 2, zeh, and he makes va'amartem koi lechoi. Entity 1, I'm repeating myself now, right? Museinu. Entity 2, Salmeinu. And we're joining Salmeinu and Kid Museinu. This is called He'amarta. That's Shevach. It's only the first level. And he explains the Hainu, last line on the page, Afa Pisha Ged that I'm Melech. The whole idea of a king. Skip the bracket. If you're now allowed to see a king without clothes. Top of 347 now. A king is supposed to wear clothing. He's supposed to wear his garments. And the Rebbe says, if it's true physically, a king has to always look gorgeous. But there's something even higher than the king looking gorgeous. And that's the king in his private domain. Even higher than seeing the king gorgeous is inside of his home. Like a king in his home. So the king is there without any constraints. Sometimes he has no clothes. But the no clothes inside the dira is a bigger giloy than the nicest clothes outside of the dira. And that's the Taich Rosh Hashanah. You unify God and world. And ultimately, what is the highest level of the unification of God and world? 4 lines. From the top of page 347. Hashem is going to have no clothing. And therefore, we're going to look and see him. And it's not going to destroy us. So the Rebbe says the Eibishter creates a world. And there's a melech. There's the melech stam. There's the melech in nice clothes. And then the Yid comes along and he makes the melech a palace. In this palace there's no need for clothes. And that's Rosh Hashanah. V'zehu ma shekosav hath Hashem he'amarto shapiro sharishim b'zeh loshen shevach, that a Yid adds to the world what? That it becomes Hashem's home. No, when this world becomes Hashem's home, you see the praise of the Eibishter as the king is in the privacy of his own home. Shapelim b'yem rishon, u'b'zikaron l'yem rishon, there should be b'chinah zeh. So the Rebbe takes what is the highest pshat and he turns it into the lowest pshat. The first level of Rosh Hashanah, Hashem me'amarta hayom, is Rosh Hashanah, is shevach. That in this world the Eibishter is revealed without any constraints. Now, what's the upside of that and what's the downside of that? You can go back to the same conversation about Frei and have it again here at a much higher level. A king who's completely revealed, totally revealed. How can you eat it? How do you imagine Hashem is fully revealed? No, the joke. It's not a joke. It's an irony. It's almost a sad joke. A woman comes to the Rebbe by dollars. I think I read it in the Matzmiach Yeshua. She tells the Rebbe's on his Galeveren. The Rebbe's standing, giving out dollars. There hasn't been such a giloy since Yisrael stopped Moshe Rabbeinu from judging the Jewish people. You understand? Remember, Moshe judged Yidden by himself, and Yisrael said it's a bad idea. The Rebbe went back to that. The Rebbe gave dollars to every Yid. It's unbelievable. And a woman says the Rebbe's on his Galeveren. So the Rebbe went like this. Ta-da! The Rebbe once told somebody, if you don't see as an eye that it's not revealed, was willst? If you have a Gilia Atzmos, it's unbelievable, but you can't eat it. For Gilia Atzmos to be of use, it needs a funnel. So the first level is Dira B'Tachtonim, that a Yid through Avodah is revealing Hashem in the world. Not the way a king comes out onto a porch, all bedecked in regalia, but b'tatzmusei, b'dira, in his own private space. Yes? So if you're with that king in that palace, on the one hand you have everything, and on the other hand you have nothing. What are you going to do with it? So it comes down into garments, and it comes down into words. Taiches the Rebbe, it comes down into garments. That means you do mitzvahs. And it comes into words and you're learning Torah. The way the Rebbe explains it is that this atzmos becomes ingestible. You can not only have it, you can also benefit from it. And not only you can benefit from it, you can make it one with yourself. And that's the next two taichin. The Rebbe flips it backwards. The lowest taich is Loshen Shevach. The second touch is Lashon Beged. The highest touch is Lashon Amida. Let's read. Next paragraph. V'hine. Who the second touch in Hamarta, skip the parentheses, Hamarta Lashon Levush. That Hamarta means a garment. And he brings rayas from Targum. That Hamarta means a garment. 4 lines from the top of the page, please. The pshat is as follows. On the one hand, in Rosh Hashanah, Hashem is fully revealed. On the other hand, Hashem has clothes. Now make up your mind. If he's fully revealed, why does he need clothes? And the answer is, we need for him to have clothes. So the whole revelation of Hashem is something we can put on our size. What is that? Adeshem Moloch Geis Lavesh. David should put on a garment of Malchus. Now normally, you say, Hashem puts on a garment of Malchus, because without that garment you don't see anything. But in this Maamar, you can't say that. Why? Because the first level is Hashem is revealed in his Atzmos. So Hashem putting on a garment doesn't mean that until he puts on a garment you can't see him. Until he puts on a garment, he's not close enough for you to put it on as a shirt. And that's why the Rebbe says that Nasa Devidasam Shal Yisro, it's Hashem Marto, which is the garments. Levushim is in Yana mitzvahs. And the Rebbe brings, which says in Chassidus, based on the Zohar of Avram, Zok, and Baba Yomim, that Avram Avinu came along with every one of his days. Baba Yomim is nicht gegangen in the tag, as gegangen mit the tag. He took every day along. Because Avram never missed an opportunity to do a mitzvah. If you're missing a day, you're missing a garment. Avram had all of his days and all of his mitzvahs. What are those garments? They're conductors of Atzmos. Now, you have Atzmos. You need the garment to bring the Atzmos closer to yourself. And look how he finishes. Last 3 lines. Ha-mitzvahs heim levushim. Shal yodam ken nemen Atzmusay yizbarach. The first step, Lashon Shevach, is how Atzmos is revealed in this world, but you can't do anything with it. Then you put on a beged. And the beged makes it possible, not that before the beged he's not revealed, but before the beged he's not personalized. And you're able to bring the Eibusha closer to you as a beged. And then he says, you know what the highest level is? First you need a beged to conduct Atzmos, and then you don't even need the beged anymore. First you need the mitzvah to bring to yourself the Gilia Atzmos, which is available to Asad Lave, and then you can make your own mitzvahs. And the Rebbe connects it to the Hamarta and the Hamircha again. Hamarta is Lashon Levush. Look at the... No, it's Hamarta, Lashon Levush. And la'achre sheyeshne Hamarta, yeshne al yisach Hamircha. What's the Hamircha? That you don't need the Levush anymore. So the way the Rebbe does it is as well. Number 1, there's a Gilia Atzmos. Number 2, you get that Gilia Atzmos because you have to have a beged. The beged is the mitzvahs that you do. And number 3, it's not the mitzvah you do, it's the mitzvah you create. You don't even need a beged anymore. So it's the second type, Hamarta Lashon Levush. And the Rebbe finishes, bottom page 247. Oh, no, I'll talk a bit attached. Yeah, Behine. Well, in Yeru, the pshat is like this. And the Rebbe, this is also sweet. This is, the Rebbe that angehakt in a Maamar, a shtickle look at the Siches. Something that the Rebbe said in the Siches, which l'chayr is the Rebbe's Havort. It's a chiddush from the Rebbe. The Rebbe puts it into the Sich. He says, what is the pshat? That you have Gilia Atzmos, and then you're doing mitzvahs. And then you're doing mitzvahs at a level where you don't even need the mitzvahs, you don't need the garments anymore. So he brings like this. Hina, yashna ina siyas ha-mitzvahs be'efer de shalei lishma. A person can do mitzvahs with an ulterior motivation. As the Gemara says, and the Rambam Paskas leilim yasek adam b'teiru mitzvahs afa pi shalei lishma. First to do the mitzvahs shalei lishma, right? So what's the lashon that we all know? Shemitech shalei lishma ba lishma, right? Look in footnote 78. Lekut Siches Chelik of Amud 50. There's no Visham Nisma. This is the Rebbe's Achidish. How does the Rebbe teach Mitech Shalei Lishma Ba Lishma? Not that after you do a Shalei Lishma you'll come to the Lishma, but inside the Shalei Lishma there's already the Lishma. V'yadu Apirish Bazeh 3 lines into the paragraph. The Bashavah Chagach Limud Lishma Uliyeth Shahatoich. Skip the parenthesis. The inside of the Shalei Lishma Lishma. Behind him. Shekashayud, the Makayim mitzvah, you're doing a mitzvah. Nebasa need on the way. You see it externally, it appears. Shemakayim Shalei Lishma is not doing Gosek Deibishter. Hiniatech v'apnimis Shabazeh. Inside that Shalei Lishma, there's a Lishma. And the Raya is our best friend. Who's Lubavitch's best friend? The Rambam. Can you do a psak din Rambam? The Rambam brings Safichas Gerish and Perik Beis. That the person says, I don't want to do a mitzvah. And you force it. And he does it. We say, Reitze, Lekayim, mitzvahs, Habeire. Right? So even if a person says, I don't want to do a mitzvah, and you force him to do a mitzvah, you say he really wants to do a mitzvah, turn the page. He's doing the mitzvah. Not then, page 348 now. It's felt up in the kavanah. So if there was a minute where his mitzvahs were not b'shleimus, or was missing a mitzvah, and a whole bunch of words, yes? You fix everything up, and you have the high shleimus, and he finishes by saying that from the shalei lishma, you come to the lishma. I'm going bekitzer because it's a Rachmana Safuns, we're sitting too long. But you get the message. The message is that the level of Hamarta Loshen Levush is higher than Hamarta Loshen Shevach. Why? Hamarta Loshen Shevach is revealing Atzmus. Hamarta Loshen Levush is bringing the Atzmus to us through a garment. And the end of that garment is they don't even need the garment anymore. And the Rebbe explains it that the pnimius of the Shaloi Lishma, let me say it in different words. If I do a mitzvah because Hashem said, because the Kabbalah said, the pnimius of that, because Hashem said, is don't tell me what to do, I'm doing it by myself. The Hamir. Next paragraph. And what does Amira mean? Torah. What's the difference in mitzvahs and Torah? Mitzvahs are garments that you wrap around yourself. They fit. They're to your size. A house, right, is not to your size. One person, the house is bigger. Dira b'tachtenim is a house. Levush is beged. Torah is mazain. 3 levels. Bayis, levush, mazain. And each later step is higher than the level earlier because you're internalizing it more. Fashteis v'zeu Hashem amarta shekoy ala Torah. Dvar Hashem, and then of course higher than that is Aniyah Mishnah of the Ben is Beficha and so forth. Questions or comments? I went quick, but I gave you the Maamar I think very clear, and part of the reason is because Pashat last night in Shul I Chazir it, so you're getting a beater, a mavura dika, a round 2, and of course the Rebbe then goes back in 22 and 23. He goes back to before about Zayam Tchos Masecha. This is sort of the conclusion of the Maamar. It's quite repetitious, so we're going to leave it. I'm happy with this limud. So Tuesday, we're going to be here. We're going to be learning Rosh Hashanah Maamar from Lamed Ches, the one after this one in time. This is the end of Lamed Zayin. It's a very long Maamar. I have no idea how we're going to learn it. We'll go from this Meitzah to that Meitzah, and the Eibush should help him.